on to watch!
You're listening to the soothing sounds of the Sunday live stream on My Left Eye. Solidarity, everybody. Hope you're all well. It's good to be here. Yes, as you can see, as it says, this is the Sunday live stream with our brand new sparkling shiny logo that we have here. Hashtag Socialist Sunday at the bottom for anybody who's currently peering, trying to work that one out. Just one of the latest changes and improvements to the channel, ever forward, always improving. More quality to come. Hope you all smash the thumbs up / like button as we get started. Darren Smith was first in the chat. Hope you well, comrade. Doc Davies is in the house as well. And Jackie, nice to see you. Hope you've all had a good week and a damn good weekend. Let us know if you've been up to anything interesting in the chat. If you're not subscribed yet, just hit subscribe and join others in the chat just 60 seconds later. And I do feel as though it's been a while because we've had a video out this week, we've had another live stream, Brews at 10, but apart from that, we have been busy, so it's good to be with you tonight. Of course, we didn't have a Sunday live stream last week, but here we are with Herbie Ranger and the Supersonics as well, of course, the background jazz quartet. Nice. Yes, definitely here, definitely live. They definitely exist, and there are definitely 4 of them. If anybody wonders why they can only hear 3 instruments, there is a specific explanation for that, which long-term viewers will be aware of. But I'll just tease you with that information for now. maybe reveal more towards the end of the stream, unless there are spoilers in the chat. I'm not really bothered. Comrie, nice to see you. Solidarity from over the border in Wales. Of course, great to have an audience from every country in Britain, as well as overseas as well. Thank you, Herbie. In fact, let's hear that song again and ad infinitum throughout the stream. Just the 5 of us here at the moment, currently waiting for Phil to arrive. Again, long-term viewers will know that a Sunday tradition, until recently, has been Keith's Fondue Lounge. Since his departure, we have, unfortunately, it's one of the only downsides to Keir Starmer no longer being in office, a whole bunch of very regular features have gone with it. So of course, no Keith's Fondue Lounge. We have been replacing them with coming up videos that Phil and I have put together. I think he's put the finishing touches to it. He should be on his way and arriving any moment now. But yes, we will have a suitable replacement for the Fondue Lounge once the parliamentary recess ends. That's just in, what, 10 days? So this will be the penultimate time we'll be using the replacement for now. We'll be finding the replacement for Keith's Fondue Lounge proper to be as entertaining as the original. It was, of course, one of the longest running features on live streams. Shout out to the Agitator as well for providing us with that, as well as the Yvette Cooper test card that you saw in the pre-stream intro there. Javenia Robbins, nice to see you. Hope you've been well. Happy Socialist Sunday to all, ladies and gentlemen, brothers and sisters, they, thems and comrades alike. Whilst we're just waiting for the real Bill Mute assistant slash editor producer type to arrive, let's give a big shout out to all the members on the channel. Thanks to those of you who have renewed recently. Unfortunately, a few haven't since the last time we were with you on a live stream, down under 100 now, on 89. Perhaps if any of you are feeling particularly saucy this evening and want to show some solidarity, perhaps we can get back over the 100 mark. But whatever you do to support the channel, sharing on social media, so on and so forth, we appreciate that wherever it comes from. Thank you very much, all members. Super chat is open if you'd like to use that feature while we're live, as well as super stickers. And if you're catching up later on, super thanks is always there. And the Buy Me a Coffee page for anybody unable to contribute via YouTube. And that's almost the end of the plugs, just a final one to check out our most recent content. The video regarding Farage and Reform's demise and backlash, something which we'll be going into on tonight's stream actually. But yeah, do check that out if you've not done so already. In fact, even if you have, why not give it a rewatch? And if you weren't watching on a mobile device this time, that's a phone or a tablet, then please do so. Because once you hit the thumbs up button, which I'm sure you're going to do, because it's quality, once you hit that thumbs up button, it will prompt you to gift some hype points, so please do. You'll check that out roughly where the comments usually are, in that little bar underneath the video. So yes, that helps us out on the algorithm quite a lot actually, thanks to those of you that have, we can keep up with the very bizarre scoring system, which is just like random 5-figure points in the ranking charts. But as far as you're concerned, it's absolutely free. These points don't cost you anything. They get reallocated. I think it's every week or so. So don't worry, it's not going to cost you anything. So if you've used it for the first time and wondering why it's asking you to contribute whatever it is, 2,415 specifically points, whatever that refers to, then forget the numbers. Don't worry, it's not related to a cost. Nina Sade is also with us. Solidarity. Happy Socialist Sunday to you as well. Nice to see the chat filling up. A lot of familiar faces. What do you think of the new logo, guys? We're up pretty late into the small hours coming up with this one. No, just thought it was proper to give the Sunday live stream a specific logo. In fact, the other one was just intended for live streams that we do not at specified times for the Brews at 10. And then it just seems to have become lodged into the Sunday live stream quite a long time ago. But we have noticed that quite a few of you have been watching some of the old classic live streams from when the channel first started out. Hope you've been enjoying those for whatever reason. Well, you can see the difference in quality. Apologies for things like microphone hiss and cutout. Not that we've been without our technical problems elsewhere since then, but yeah, if on occasion, just out of curiosity as to which live streams people have been watching from the past, I'll check them out. Sometimes it's a bit, I don't want to say cringe, of course. It's been quality all the way, but yeah, it's just kind of strange. Anyway, lots of new stuff coming up, regular features, that kind of thing. Lots of smatterings of comedy, we hope, as well. Yeah, in fact, we're going to have a feature that we've not had on for a while. Although there is a spoiler in the title of the live stream, so I guess that's not going to be much of a surprise. Okay, so, okay, right, yeah. He's here. Phil's here. Give me the thing. Need the thing. Right, this is definitely it. Definitely quality. We've only got 2 more chances at this thing before we have to go to the, well, I nearly said the name that we've been kicking around the office for Keith's Fondue Lounge replacement. If you've got any guesses, throw them into the chats. What's it going to be called? What's it? Anyway. Okay. What's that? I'm on live. Let's not do this now, conversation-wise. Well, if you want to call it a conversation. Okay. I'm assured it's of optimum quality. At least that's what he scribbled down. Better be. Because the audience is thirsty. Burnham's bonfire. Well, now you mention it, we might scrap the actual idea and just go along with that. Sounds a bit better. No, you'll find out the week after next. Parliament begins again on a Tuesday the 1st of September. So it'll be the following Sunday that you'll get the first. So for now, here's what to expect on the stream. What's happening?
Hey, listen to this!
Coming up. Mainstream media meltdown over wealthy couples' whereabouts. Farage faces councillor crisis as another backlash emerges. Arrests outside court as judge rules on the Preston 5. And New Zealand Prime Minister called out in public over the country's stance on Palestine. All this plus more to come on the Sunday livestream.
Were you quick enough to notice that Easter egg at the end? Phil, you're still using the Brews at 10, the album cup. It's a Sunday live stream, not a Brews at 10, but we'll talk about that later, again, in front of the cement mixer on the housing developments further up the street. So yes, all that plus more to come. Yeah. Nice. For now, let's kick off with the opening comedy clip. Who's first? Of course. Yes. The first comedy clip might actually be featuring for the final time. Unfortunately, it's Claire Blackwood. We've featured quite a few times, and her impersonation of Karoline Leavitt, who is on the way out of office. So unfortunately, that might mean the end of Claire Blackwood's fantastic impersonations. And the American-Canadian trade deal, massive air quotes, inverted commas, trade deal, of course, collapsed this week. That's another thing we'll be looking at through the live stream. But for now, do enjoy Claire Blackwood and her excellent impressions of Karoline Leavitt. You can find a link to Claire's YouTube channel. She's a YouTuber herself. Go and show some support and subscribe via the link in the description. Really like this one. It will be a shame for them to be discontinued. But alas, we know what that feels like with Keith having been replaced recently. Gotta milk him while we got him.
Good afternoon, White House Press Corps. When I leave this job in 10 days, I'm going to celebrate by asking the President to brick you into the walls of his beautiful new ballroom. Today, I am pleased to announce that President Trump has officially paused his 50% tariffs on Canada for 3 whole days, after weeks of hard negotiations with Prime Minister Mike Carney. He did this because Canada has agreed to all of his demands and concessions, even if Carney doesn't know that yet. This is because the President is playing chess, whereas Canada is playing politics and diplomacy, a game Mr. Trump has never even heard of. When Mr. Trump stormed into the negotiation room, slammed his giant fist into the table, breaking it in half, and simply said, "Mr. Prime Minister, enough is enough," Mr. Carney looked at him with tears in his eyes and said, "You're right, sir. My country is tiny and stupid, and yours is so strong, so I will agree to everything you ask." Because of these masterful negotiations, Canada has agreed to make the following concessions. Number 1, put American alcohol back on their shelves and remove alcohol from any countries Mr. Trump doesn't like. Number 2, only hire American cows to make their dairy products. Number 3, build a golden statue of Mr. Trump on every Canadian golf course. Number 4, hire Hulk Hogan to star in all future Canadian motion pictures. Number 5, Mr. Carney has to wear a hat that says, "I am a very nasty politician," to all future Davos speeches. And number 6, we get Alberta. In return, Mr. Trump has graciously agreed not to tariff Canada into oblivion until at least Friday afternoon, unless he thinks of something else to be mad about before then. Take note, world leaders. This is how you win wars against your enemies. And now I shall speak to Canada directly. Watch your step, you maple syrup loving losers. If you put one toe out of line, Mr. Trump will drone strike what our intelligence has identified as your country's most strategically important location, Newfoundland. Thank you.
And thank you, Claire Blackwood, for the excellent Leavitt impressions. Spot on as always. Yeah, again, it'll be a shame to see them go. But she does a lot more, especially based around Canadian politics for anybody over there in Canada. Check her out. Oh, and there's a Patreon there as well. I'll give it a pay. Shut up. It's gone. Like a fucking convoy of bikes just went past. But it's on Patreon, patreon.com/Claire Blackwood comedy. Check it out if you want to give us some support. Big Jerry, nice to see you. Yeah, good idea about sending all those people to Mars as well. Why don't they go first? Please, Elon Musk, lead by example. If you want to be a scientific and engineering pioneer, like he thinks he is, you want to be on the first rocket over there. I'm sure that he would have the mental resolve to last those many months in space, in isolation, without the billionaire luxuries that he's used to, just to be the first to step foot on the planet that will be constantly trying to kill him from the moment not only that he would set foot on it, but from entering the atmosphere, what there is of it. Anyway, that would be a good start. Big Jerry's got the big ideas, and I like them. We'll actually be finding out more about the failed tariff negotiations in a comedic fashion further through the stream, but we are going to start with Stop the Press. That is, yes, mainstream media meltdown this week over the location of a certain wealthy couple. No doubt you've heard mention of this. We'll see what's happening.
Socialists. Oh my god.
Okay. Please stop the press, please. You do.
Hey, listen to this.
Ladies and gentlemen, can I please have your attention? I've just been handed an urgent and horrifying news story. And I need all of you to stop what you're doing and listen.
Stop the presses!
So, of course, it's Prince Harry and his wife Meghan who's concerned. They've been out of the UK and announced that they're coming back, and ever since, been a full-on meltdown. For example, you might have passed newsstands if you were in the UK that look something like this. And of course, many of the TV outlets having it with the lead stories as well, including the BBC. So they're all fawning over, first of all, an apparent falling out between Prince Harry and his brother, the heir to the throne, of course, Prince William. And he swore, well, he didn't swear not to return. He said he might never return, but now he is, and apparently this is quite sensational. So let's look at what the BBC have put out, because this has been inescapable, let's be honest. Also a lot of talk about Harry's security detail and who will or won't be paying for it. Now, of course, while I'm no royalist myself, I want to state that very clear. In terms of monarchy, I am a Republican, not in the American political sense, of course. But in that context, yes. But when the question about who would pay for the security was put to Andy Burnham, he dismissively stated that it was a private matter for the royal family. Now, I don't know about you good people, but I might be particularly concerned whether my taxes, my personal taxes, would be going towards this security detail or not. I wouldn't really consider it a private matter for the royal family if it's being used for their privilege. We, as taxpayers, the ones who would be paying for it, have a right to know, just the same as we've paid for so many palaces, properties, and land. So of course it's public interest, of course it's our business. And I think very telling from Andy Burnham, where he's going to stand on matters where the royal family is concerned. That being, of course, he's just happy to go along with establishment ways to perpetuate his own career, but he seems to have dug out for himself in the most completely underhanded of fashions. So this is what the Beeb is saying, which you should be able to see in a second. He says, yes, they can't believe this was one of the top stories. I pulled two stories from the BBC here that have been either the top or in the top sort of three stories throughout this week. This one's from the 19th, and they're straight on it. I can't say I really recall or care what this falling out between the two is supposed to be, but of course we're well aware that a lot of the right-wing press and other right-wing douchebags who have their own platforms, say for example a certain Piers Morgan, have a remit specifically against Meghan Markle on account of her, of course, not being white So, yeah. That's what a lot of the pylon has been about. Of course, again, I'm saying that not as a royalist, against people born into privileged life who continue to have and maintain their privileged lives as well. Not going to get into the ins and outs of hypocrisy of course, Harry saying he'd step away from the royal family for privacy matters, and then the two of them going on various publicity tours and things like this, and releasing products, which we're going to take a look at in a moment. They mentioned this legal challenge that he's had as well. And it was also in the news this week regarding phone hacking, something, again, that has a Piers Morgan theme to it, if you know what I'm saying. There was a ruling that apparently those involved in that case who lost in this, the accusers, would have, what was it, 34 million? Something like 34 million pounds between them. That's not a great deal of money to someone like Elton John, who was also one of the co-defendants. That was another case that dragged on for a while. Yeah, but I'm getting on and on it goes. This article itself came out, you know, a short time after it was announced. Just can't help themselves, and I mean, like, really, who cares? That's the point. It was followed up with this story, I think a couple of days later or so. Just about this brand thing. Do have to say as well, I love the spitting image portrayal of Prince Harry, and definitely not Paddington Bear for legal reasons. No, pads. Yeah, they got taken off YouTube for that as well, but it's still going on the website if you want to check it out. So there they are with the face slapped over whatever the fuck that is, tea bags. And you want to get... So is that 25? You got 25 tea bags. What sort of... that sometimes might not last us a day here in this studio, I'll tell you that. Apparently they've launched a blackberry spread. I hope you're all paying attention, taking notes here. The BBC think this is particularly pertinent. A rich and vibrant blackberry spread alongside a softly lit video of her picking the fruit. And yeah, where journalism's concerned, royal correspondence are some of the very worst that you'll come across as well. Something about, what's this, L'Oreal? Oh, sorry, the L'Oreal Professor of Marketing at the University of Oxford said that after they moved to the United States, the Sussexes attracted enormous attention and were initially very good at monetizing it, but I don't think they've been successful at converting that initial success into an enduring brand. That might also be the fact that you want to get 25 tea bags in a fucking packet. What's all that about? And how much do they cost? let's see if it says in the article. I have to know. Well, that's just about their overall earnings. Oh, it's only £73 million. 4 people. From a deal with oh, of course, yeah, documentary, the Netflix documentary. We're sick of having cameras in our face all the time, you know, we just want to live a normal, private life. Here's our Netflix documentary. 73 million. 73 million. And you know you'd rather be here on the Sunday live stream than watching that cag. Yada yada yada. Apparently they might have pissed all that 73 million away by now. But no mention of the price of these tea bags. I have to know. I have to know. Let's see. I usually do this on stream. Through what are they called again? Say here. I might just Google it here. Actually, typing this into the search bar might get some interesting results. Maybe I should have done this on incognito mode, I don't know. Harry and Meghan teabag. Let's see. Look. Let's see what comes up. Oh, thank goodness, it's all savoury. Okay, apparently they're commemorative souvenir tea tins. Okay, so they've not actually released their own brand of tea bags, it's just the tin. If that's the same ones, that's what's come up here. Fuck off. Right, there's some on... Okay. There's some on sale on eBay here, and they contain 25 English breakfast Ahmad tea bags, and they want £22.50 for it. Fuck off. They want £22.50. What, including the tin? God, no. Won't be bidding on that in a hurry. Sorry, I was just so curious. Had to know. They're going on eBay for that as well, so I don't know what they were priced at when they were released. But I'm sick of the sight of their faces already. Let's get them off the screen. Thank you very much. That will be that. I'll stop the press, and please do, however long this goes on for. We are anticipating a tirade of, look at this hat, look at the colour of this other thing, relentlessly. So let's preemptively stop the press.
Who gives a dusty fuck?
Is that it?
Who gives a shit? Yeah. Oh!
I'm very disappointed.
Okay, start the presses.
That takes 4 hours.
Whatever, I'll be at Moe's.
Absolute gutter press we have in this country, people. You know as well as I. Davinia, thanks for stopping by. It's been Nice to see you. Can catch up with the rest later. I know you're a fan of the long fix, but we'll catch up again soon. Have yourself a good night. Hedy, nice to see you in chat as well. Good point there about 500 grand's worth of security that definitely couldn't have come out of the 73 million Netflix deal alone. He is, of course, technically in line to the throne. He will very, very likely never sit upon it, barring any sort of tragic incidents in quick succession. But we're still coming through smooth. We've got a sort of amber warning on the YouTube studio. Sorry if there is any current buffering. We will move on to the next item.
On with it. Yes, get on with it. Get on with it.
Yes, it's the return of a feature we haven't had for a while. An unfortunate return, that is, considering what it's all about. It's a song of ICE and fire, which of course reports on the ne'er-do-wells in the, shall we say, heavy-handed anti-immigration fascist service over in the United States of America. In the past, of course, we've unfortunately reported on the murdering of civilians, including Renee Good. And this time, another example. And you might not even believe your own eyes if you've not seen this particular clip. But here it is. Once again, it returns. So what have these bastards done this time? Well, I'll just come clean and tell you. People, I better pre-warn you for anybody of a nervous disposition. You might find this video particularly disturbing. There's no gore. We're not going to see anybody lose their lives in this clip. However, it's still quite harrowing as a mother and her teenage daughters are dragged out of an intensive care unit in an American hospital following their involvement in a road traffic incident. So being in an American hospital is bad enough as it is, of course. Insurance-based system noted. And then ICE literally storm in to the treatment room and start to try to drag them away while they still have drip feeds, for example, attached to their arms. And it really must have been incredibly terrifying for this poor lady and her teenage daughter, so shame on the ICE once again. just wanted to warn you the circumstances if you're not aware of this one. Absolute bastards.
¡Auxilio! ¡Auxilio! ¡No! Tienen que matarme para pasar el cadáver de mi mamá. ¿Pero por qué la tratan así? Por Dios, ¿qué ella ha hecho? Dios mío, ¿qué ella ha hecho? Mi amor, ayúdame. ¡Auxilio! ¡No! Mi mamá no me llevó con él. Por favor, yo quiero ver mi papel. ¿Dónde está el papel? Me voy a demasiado el brazo. Por favor.
If this isn't fascism, I don't know what is. It's horrendous. And this poor lady is literally on her knees begging. It's very difficult to watch. And of course these people will not have any due process, will not have any rights. Donald Trump doesn't care about that. The ICE don't care about that. Now we have seen the back of Kristi Noem following the murders of those civilians I mentioned, like Renee Good. But this is still going on. This is still happening every day. We're seeing people lifted off the street and now out of hospitals. Many of them, of course, legitimate American citizens who just happen to have names like Sanchez, Alvarez. It's more or less, they go through a list of names that end in EZ, and they think it's fair game. That was a particularly repulsive example. Darren, yeah, I don't know how people can stand by, even ordinary citizens. Now, I'm someone who is a non-violent direct activist. I have a different set of experience, of course, in this regard. But even, you know, inexperienced citizens, in seeing that, you have to take action, because you'll be next if you're not one of them, for whatever reason it is. Shocking. But I think we need cheering up after seeing that. So we'll just quickly take a look at American politics now. And yes, this, well, what can you say about the America-Canada trade deal? Exactly as expected and predicted. Trump couldn't help himself, of course, in trying to get Canada to agree to become one of the states of America. The 51st state, that is official, of course. We all know who the real 51st state of America is, don't we, people? But he was refused, along with another ridiculous proposal on tariffs, his apparent favourite word. But instead of subjecting ourselves to how Trump himself put it, or the response from Mark Carney, who was quite defiant, if a little wooden in his press appearances during all of this. But it's been summed up very well, of course, by a comedy character that I'm sure you all know by now. Jonathon Pye, who put this out earlier today. And it's pretty much on the money when it comes to an assessment of how these negotiations went, or didn't go, as it turned out to be. Oh, just very quickly as well, in case I forget after the clip. There's been another backlash against Trump, domestically, that is, from the very people who voted for him. Of course, a lot was said during his campaign and since about American farming, a lot of broken promises where that was concerned as well. Argentina, of course, in the value crash of its currency, has found itself in great economic stress, and whilst several farmers, in fact I think it's 73 farmers a week going bankrupt in America, Donald Trump has agreed to purchase something along the lines of 700,000 tons of beef from Argentina. So a lot of them not happy about that. Well, they got what they voted for. There is a link to Jonathon Pye's YouTube as well. Check him out. And lest we forget, here's of course a character played by the excellent Tom Walker, just so you remember.
US President Donald Trump has said Canada wants the benefits of being a state without being one after trade talks between the two countries collapsed late on Friday. He's got bored, hasn't he? Because he successfully won the war in Iran this week by simply naming the Strait of Hormuz American territory. Job done. Don't know why he didn't do that on day one. Could have saved himself a whole lot of bother. But victory is Trump's. Hooray! The reality is, of course, the Americans are running out of ammo and their sailors are trying to jump overboard. But no, he's definitely won the war in Iran, so now he's finished with the Middle East. Who's next? Canada, of course. Again, those bastard Canadians. Just a little trade war this time. He'll be talking about invading Greenland again soon. He wants to not just be imperial president of the USA, but imperial overlord of the Western world. Why does he keep doing this? Why does he treat his allies and trading partners like they're the enemy, causing chaos and uncertainty across the globe? Because, of course, Trumpism is built on chaos. He loves chaos. Why? Because he makes money out of chaos. The most openly corrupt president in American history makes money out of the chaos he creates. It's never about what's right. It's always about what makes Trump money. Donald Trump has shattered the illusion of American morality. The $2.1 billion in perfectly timed directional oil bets placed minutes before presidential announcements. Someone, somewhere, has made a shitload of money out of this war, and I'm betting that that person is Donald Trump.
And Barron Trump, his son as well, made $20 million overnight on oil trades.
What about Trump charging Wall Street traders $100,000 a month for faster access to the president's posts on his Truth Social platform, allowing them to profit directly from state-sanctioned insider trading? How that would work, of course, is 3 or 4 hours before he does something, he just does a post to all his Wall Street insider traders saying something like, in about 4 hours, I am going to fuck with Mark Carney, so go make some money. What about Trump admitting that his sons benefit from insider trading and then managing to get himself and his sons immunity from the tax authorities? Or him trying to get US taxpayers to pay for a $1.8 billion slush fund for January the 6th insurrectionists? An administration who is happy to pardon violent January the 6th insurrectionists but dare to protest ICE agents. The White House will happily condone you getting shot in the face. A convicted felon, an adjudicated rapist who took took a bulldozer to the White House and is building a bunker under it in which he can lock himself when he loses the next election. The man who makes up wars that didn't happen so he can say he solved them. Who recently invented a new way of doing percentages. Surrounding himself with people too afraid to point out to him that if egg prices drop by 600%, it means the chicken is paying you to steal its eggs. A man who gives white South Africans asylum in America because of a white genocide that isn't happening, who believes Diet Coke cures cancer, the man who makes monuments in his own name, who names airports and art centres after himself, whose political movement is happy to promote the narrative that the UK has fallen to religious extremists, which amounts to a coordinated propaganda effort against Britain, an attack on our sovereignty by supposedly our closest ally. Under Trump, America, our closest ally, is on the brink of becoming the enemy, lecturing us about how Europe has gone to shit whilst presiding over a country with 500,000 people sleeping rough and a healthcare system that will either kill you or bankrupt you or both. And every time he behaves like this, there is despair in European capitals and delight in Moscow, which tells you all you need to know. Well, a familiar story throughout Trump's second term. Tariffs have been used by the Trump administration time and time again to assert pressure on allies and trading partners alike.
Yeah, check out The End of the World according to Jonathon Pye tour. You can book tickets at jonathanpye.com. Have seen him live. Highly recommend. Link in the description as well, the YouTube once again. That's the way it went down. Yeah, like he said there, Greenland next, we expect he'll go through the usual cycle, usual motions. Putin's poodle. Welcome to chat, Aaron. Nice to see you.
Can you dig it? Can you dig it? Can you dig it?
Well, there are a lot of things you can say about Donald Trump. He always chickens out, yeah. As you point out in the chat there.
He's an asshole too, sir. Gun is made first class Philip asshole.
What we got next? Yes. Got a couple of things. Where the UK is concerned. I'll start with a quick stat here. Now, with us being a Manchester-based channel, we know the current Prime Minister very well by reputation, of course, in moving from his mayoralty in the city to Prime Minister. And since then, he's promised to end rough sleeping, which is not homelessness, end rough sleeping this Christmas or by Christmas. Not a promise I have too much optimism in him achieving. So we're going to look at how he did while he was at the helm here in Manchester. Because while it's said that he apparently did a lot of good for the city, his reputation in that regard is somewhat overstated, as you're about to see here. And also, a recent announcement that mayors will now be allowed to overrule councils on matters of planning permission, which essentially means more gentrification that we got here in Manchester as well. And if you look at the Manchester skyline, you'll see an abundance of cranes, you know, from Deansgate all the way across town. But at the bottom of these construction sites and complexes, you'll see sleeping bags in doorways, you'll see people begging for money at major road intersections at the same time as these skyscrapers are being built. So just have a quick look at this one. Sorry, I've got to upload this as we go. These are the numbers. So whilst things did initially start off rather well for Burnham, who was elected in 2017, the numbers then rose, well, a good way back towards the original level. Of course, we do have to concede that by the time he finished, there were fewer people sleeping rough than there were when he started, but he couldn't continue the downward trend. And that is a political choice. As per the gentrification that I just mentioned. So there you can see, and I think the numbers there are per thousand, sorry, or per however many thousand it is. Well, they reached the lowest 5 years ago in 2021. Did miss the target that was set for 2020, although it does cite it was 57% lower at that point than when he took over, but then from 89 up to 102, quite a sharp leap then. Well, pretty much 50% almost in a year, from 102 to 149, and then you can see by last year 197, which was the highest number since 2018, and just 26% down on 2017. So he did miss his target as promised. That's his record in Manchester, and you're very welcome to jump on a train to Piccadilly or Victoria right now, and as soon as you walk out on the street you will see what it's like. You can get off at Deansgate if you want to see that specific example, and if you go to Oxford Road, places like that, again, you'll see a lot of the road with boarded up sides, pedestrians rerouted, diverted around construction sites quite a lot in that area as well. And all the while that you're walking, you will pass homeless people in shop doorways, you will pass a lot of people asking you to help them out with small change and such. And it's a hypocrisy. It's always been a hypocrisy here in Manchester, and I'm sure you can see why we have our reservations about this ending rough sleeping by Christmas. We've known since it was pretty much clear that he was going to walk into Downing Street unopposed. We've known that he was going to throw some crumbs on the table. The question is just how many members of the voting general public are going to think that that's enough to vote for him at the next general election. Because it really won't be enough. He's not the saviour. These things aren't the solution. But a lot of people think that they are. Ogham the Bold, yes, that was in the Manchester Evening News, that story. There's a large Marks and Spencer at the bottom of Market Street there, just close to the Exchange, and someone froze to death on the pavement outside. And unfortunately, we live in a society where, especially in cities and large towns, this is so commonplace that people just step over the homeless because they're that abundant. The solutions are there. There are so many empty properties here in Manchester. It's a political decision once again. Of course, if you can't create a market, if you can't create something that creates profit, then the politicians aren't interested. There is the space, the physical space. It's just that the politics that exist can't logistically get people from A to B. So if you want to talk about welfare states, that's welfare state in the UK in 2026, not just in 26, of course. It's been prevalent for a while now. And the response has been very poor.
Very poor indeed, ladies and gentlemen.
Something else that's interminably poor, of course, is reformplc.co.uk/recycled Tories and Nigel Farage. Before we take a look at the latest crisis in reform concerning councillors and the rate that they're losing them at, and we're going to hear from someone I've not had on the a live stream for quite a while now, Peter Stefanovic, who is of course also involved with the communications trade union as well, but he's going to give his 2 cents on Farage, reform, corruption, and we've made mention ourselves with the latest video on the channel about the 50 billion welfare cut announcement backfiring pretty heavily. Which has pretty much started to see the beginning of the end of reform. Where those votes will go, though, it remains to be seen. So I might discuss that a little after we've seen this clip. I think I've got to upload this. Yeah. Apologies.
How many?
And you can see it loud and clear there. This is part of the campaign for social justice that Peter's also involved with. I just want to check how the volume is. I think it was a bit low.
Many of you actually know that Nigel Farage's Reform UK party has promised
A Great Repeal Act.
And hold on to your seats for which legislation they plan to target.
Labour's Employment Rights Bill.
Labour's landmark Employment Rights Act is the biggest upgrade to workers' rights in a generation.
Yeah, and it's not the first time that Reform have hinted that they would want to come out of the European Convention on Human Rights as well, which has been going around the news recently. When, like it was with the Tories, when removing people's human rights is the only thing that can get you towards your goal or your target, you really do have to look yourself in the mirror and admit that you must be a bit of a scumbag, really. Rishi Sunak said it, of course. Kemi Badenoch has hinted at it as well. I believe that I might be slightly paraphrasing, but the quote from Rishi Sunak was directly that human rights are preventing us from achieving our goals. So that means cuts to the disabled, which Reform have openly got plans for now. With immigration numbers dropping by 40%, you see they have to turn their attention to somebody else in society. And of course, they'll always go for the poor and the disabled. Yeah, and that legislation is so fundamental for millions of disadvantaged people.
It radically expands protections for millions of working people, including day one rights for sick pay, and into fire and rehire practices which allow bosses to sack employees and hire them back on worse terms, and an end to exploitative zero-hours contracts by introducing rights to guaranteed hours, reasonable notice of shifts, and payments for short notice cancellation. And what is Reform promising?
A Great Repeal Act.
Reform would strip back day one rights for sick pay, lift restrictions on exploitative zero-hours contracts, and legalise fire and rehire tactics.
And like I said in the video that we had out this week, I just genuinely cannot believe that they've done this before they're elected, as though this is what people have been up in arms about. They, and of course the right-wing media, have whipped up a culture of hate against the disabled people on benefits for years, just as much as they have on immigration. But normally you see this sort of thing implemented after election, not before election. And they must know how unpopular it is. It's different from the immigration issue. The thing being, unfortunately, they have managed to persuade large swathes of people to turn their attention towards migration as a false culprit for the ills in society. But where the disabled are concerned, they are in fact talking to a lot of people who would have voted for them in the past themselves. Of course, with the over 50s being the biggest demographic. And if you're in your 60s, you're twice as likely to receive PIP compared to someone who's in the 20s. And of course, more money for the disabled is often a popular policy in its own right when polled. So to come out and call for such a blatantly unpopular policy is, you know, politically shooting yourself in the foot. And nothing else, because no one's who's going to cheer this on. Yeah, you've seen the odd troll on social media. Maybe you watch too many episodes of Benefit Streets or one of those other awful... was that on Channel 5? That show that used to vilify people on benefits. But apart from that, not a lot of support at all.
And that's not all.
Likewise, the Property Renters Act.
Reform has said it will repeal the Renters' Rights Act, which abolishes no-fault evictions, which allows landlords to remove tenants without giving a reason, and introduces new duties over health hazards. Scrapping these vital reforms will condemn thousands to the hellish conditions they've endured for decades, whilst giving unscrupulous landlords free rein to turf renters out of their homes for no good reason. And that's not all.
Well, on day one, we will get rid of the Equalities Department.
And she actually...
Jesus Christ. Not actually seen that clip. Well, I haven't seen this clip, but that clip within a clip of Suella Braverman there. Now defected to Reform, of course, from the Tories. They're not even going to have it as a department. They're not even going to have it as a department. Wow.
She says it with a smile. And from there it gets worse.
And we will repeal the Equality Act.
Just think about that.
Well, I will think about that, Peter. Just want to skip back a few seconds because I have noticed, following off the back of what I just said, even amongst the ranks of Reform, I'm assuming that this was an internal conference announcement. Yeah, that's different to the one that Jenrick and Tice made, by the looks of it. So not even a roaring reception from what is supposedly an audience of Reform voters themselves. If you listen very closely, we don't get much time.
The Equalities Department.
And she actually says it with a smile. And from there it gets worse.
And we will repeal the Equality Act.
Just think
about
that. The Equality Act is a key piece of legislation that prevents against discrimination in Britain. It protects citizens from discrimination based on a whole range of characteristics, including age, race and religion. It applies to the workplace, education and public services. Repealing the Equalities Act would effectively legalise discrimination against a worker if they are a woman, disabled, black, pregnant or gay. And if all that's not bad enough...
We have to leave the ECHR.
Well, we'll come on to the ECHR specifically, but just before we do, I want to go on specifically to the women who would lose their working rights. Of course, had to fight for those for a very long time, and now that will be out the window. But when you see women supporting Reform and Restore as well, given in mind the amount of misogyny that exists within the right-wing culture in general, but specifically with not just Reform voters, but also the leaders as well. These are the people that have this romanticised view of a historic time in Britain when they thought that a woman's place was in the kitchen, and if she wasn't there, she should be in hospital giving birth. Pretty much. And that comes across a lot as well in the interviews that you see with Nigel Farage. We've seen on many occasions where he's had a very well put case put to him, and he tries to interrupt with, well, listen love, why don't you go and put the kettle on, you know. He's just such a twat, and there's just such a misogynistic culture that it really is a shame to see any woman or anybody, in fact, support Reform or Restore. But it's a classic case of turkeys for Christmas, whoever it is.
The European Convention on Human Rights protects us all. The rights within it, firmly implanted into UK law by the Human Rights Act, are the reason why families devastated by disasters like Hillsborough could demand justice, why victims of abuse can seek safety, and why disabled people are treated with dignity and care. It grants our right to protest, our right to privacy, our right to fair trials, and so much more. And as for Reform's argument we can just leave the ECHR and create our own Bill of Rights, would you seriously trust a party that wants to repeal the Equality Act, strip back workers' rights, lift restrictions on exploitative zero-hours contracts, and legalise fire and rehire tactics with your human rights?
Good question. And again, why Suella Braverman? It's almost beyond dystopia to see a female member of Reform, who is herself, of course, descendant from migrants to the country, standing there in front of a lectern and making those kind of announcements. Bev, nice to see you in the chat. You can think of a 3-word slogan for Reform, but you'll get banned. Please stick within terms and conditions. I'm sure we could all think of a good 3-word slogan for them. But they do use a lot of them, as you point out, Darren. Yeah, they're easily digestible. I guess the Tories use them a lot. Labour since then. Well, slightly culpable myself. Just a pile.
It would be like handing a kitten over to a hungry crocodile. And to sell all this to you, Farage has nothing but this.
The Channel migrant crisis is about to get a lot worse.
God, who edits the video? Phil, do you edit? No, you don't.
Now remember, 10 years ago, exactly 10 years ago, I put up this poster. Breaking point. The EU...
Yeah, we'll remember that. And that wasn't even... that picture wasn't even taken in this country. And it was still allowed to be displayed on billboards anyway. He implied that this was a queue of migrants coming into Britain. I think it was taken from somewhere else in Central Europe. And he's just a complete and utter snake oil fucking merchant.
EU has failed us all. And the point I was making is that vast numbers of young men were crossing into the EU's borders, being allowed to stay.
The audio's terrible.
To this country. I received massive...
It's because it's Nigel Farage boghorning out his usual bollocks. That's why the audio's so shite. I think they've tried to drain it out with some semi-patriotic sounding music as well. And the background with the arrows that are sort of supposed to kind of look like stars. It's almost like one of those magic eye pictures. Depending on your perspective, perhaps you might see a series of X's or arrows, depending on whether you're an introvert or an extrovert.
Abuse from the establishment for daring to make that suggestion, and yet, just look where we are. This week, we go through 200,000 people who've crossed the English Channel alone.
No, we bastard don't. I mean, come on. The BBC fall over themselves. God, there were bloody 43 today. Can you imagine? In a country of tens of 43. And then they talk about these new mega boats, of course, don't they? Which are essentially, when you look at them, just like elongated banana boats that people going on the holidays, you know, the ones. You might have been on one. I don't mean banana boats in that context, not in the 1950s racist Windrush context, of course. 200,000. Nigel Farage expects us to buy that there are 200,000 bullshits. He's just plucked a figure out of the air.
The figure Farage is talking about is over a period of several years.
Yeah. Just yesterday, I was down there pointing at the coast, and there were nearly 250,000 of the bastards, and they all were chanting, "We want your jobs. We can't wait to get our free houses and cars." Bullshit.
And small boat crossings are down by approximately 40% so far in 2026 compared to the same period in 2025.
40%. Like I said before, that's why they started to target the disabled now. And that argument is completely out of the window where the followers are concerned.
We believe in a community, and we know
it's happening again. Shite audio just follows him round everywhere he goes. It wasn't bad enough last time. We can't drown you out with patriotic music this time. So unfortunately, we're going to have to, ironically, make it sound as though you're talking out of the bottom of an old-fashioned metal dustbin. He'll have another bite at the cherry, you fucking fuck.
Know that mass migration breaks that community down, especially if people don't share our language or want to impose a different culture upon us.
The Reform UK leader condemning mass migration, but the reality is net migration has fallen to the lowest level since 2012, excluding the pandemic. Net migration fell to 171,000 in 2025.
Yes, that's correct. And that's from the ONS.
That's down from 331,000 the previous year. That's a drop of 48%.
It is. And as much as you might despise Keith or whatever, that is a stat. And it has removed one aspect of weaponisation away from Farage and Rupert Lowe as well.
Year on year. But you don't hear any of that from Nigel Farage. And despite this significant fall, a survey by British Future found that nearly half of Britons incorrectly believe net migration has actually increased. Just think about that. It's a shocking indictment of UK media.
Well, look at the bile that they're absorbing from Nigel Farage, from the right-wing press. And if you thought the delusion where that was concerned, were crime statistics pertaining to migration as well, are even worse. Well, what I'm getting at is they're completely and utterly deluded and misinformed.
Yeah. And not surprisingly, politicians have been blamed for skewing the public's understanding of immigration levels.
This is now about values. Either you believe in protecting borders, either you believe in your flag, either you're proud of British history.
Believe. What is this, like Peter Pan? You have to fucking believe it to be able to see it. Believe me, we can see that if you go through certain areas of Salford, there are still entire streets of them. Unfortunately, there are fewer than there were some time ago. But you don't have to believe. What do we believe in the flag? What's that supposed to even mean? Believe in the flag. What, believe in an unfair union of three countries, where, of course, England, Westminster, gets all the spoils? What are we supposed to believe about that? Sounds like a load of shite.
Either you actually really want a society where people work, make money, and get rewarded, or you take the alternative.
And you're going to achieve that by removing the minimum wage when the wealth gap's already as wide as it is.
Alternative view, which is we're all one big world, a world without borders, a world where the national flag is frankly an embarrassment and not to be discussed at smart dinner parties.
Oh, of course, because we all go to smart dinner parties, don't we, Mr. Anti-Establishment? Fucking hell. Oh, Nigel, I've never been to a smart party before in my life, alongside honest Bob Jenrick. We're just a couple of regular guys, you know. Fuck off.
And where there's enough...
Where's the thing? I've been using nearly enough inserts on this bastard.
Fuck off.
There we go.
Money to pay people welfare for the rest of their lives.
Net migration is now at 171,000. That's down from a high of 944,000 under the Conservatives. But again, you won't hear any of that from one-trick pony Mr. Farage. And let's not forget that without migrant workers, Britain would grind to a halt.
Yeah.
That's especially true when it comes to health and social care, where more than a fifth of the NHS workforce in England is made up of migrant staff. So please remember all this next time Farage and Reform UK ask you to give away your rights on the basis of this.
I will have a look at that.
How many of
that last bit there. Oh, yeah, because it's on the fucking front page of the Sun. It must be true. Yeah, that's gospel, isn't it? Have a look at that bullshit. Apple and pears. Who the fuck cares?
Fuck off.
Darren having a bit of a problem with your Alexa in the chat. Does it respond if you just ask it to play the Sunday live stream? Play some quality live streaming. Playing the Sunday live stream on my left eye. More quality than that crap that the Farage is hawking. What a complete bastard. But good stuff from Peter Stefanovic there. So the problems mount for reform. The £5 million inquiry will still go on, of course. There will be, likely, another by-election in Clacton. Possibly within the next couple of months. The policy announcements have backfired, and of course they've had this ongoing councillor crisis. I've showed a couple of lists before on other live streams of literally hundreds now. There are over 200 councillors who were elected in just May this year, who for various reasons, resignation, being sacked, not filling out the paperwork correctly and sending them to the wrong council was one of the examples. But they didn't make it. They've not made it. Some of them didn't even think that they'd win in the first place and just straight up refused because they only did it for a joke. And a new online tracker called Best for Britain, which we'll see now, reckons that they lose one on average every 3 days at the current rate. Let's see what's happening here. Sorry, there's a few ads at the side and that shit. Here we go. The group's chief said he would struggle to run a bath. New resignation and defective track reveals 35 newly elected representatives have resigned or been suspended alone since local elections in May. It comes as a public rupture in the National Party raises fresh questions about Mr Farage's ability to lead a team that could run the country. The online tool has been released days after a leaked training video said the biggest threat the party faces is people in it and itself. Bit of a strange thing to say. So they're against people. Anti-woke and anti-people, apparently. Launching the tracker, which will be updated with each new resignation or suspension, Best for Britain's chief executive Naomi Smith told the Mirror whether they've resigned or been suspended or were simply never up to the job. Reform UK have been shedding councillors ever since May. For so much of the tidal wave About to break over British politics, this is a party that would struggle to run a bath in now losing a councillor every 3 days. A bit repetitive. Yeah, that's more or less it. That's one of them. He was suspended over allegations. His social media account called for John Bercow to be hanged. Bloody hell. Yeah, I guess that more or less says everything. Not a good rate, one every 3 days. Have any of those been in your council? Let us know. We saw the Green Party recently win a by-election. Again, from Reform. Lately, didn't we? More of that to come. But where will the votes go? Well, it depends on how long Burnham can ride this initial bubble. I don't think it'll take long for people to become disenfranchised. Hopefully they would still see the error of the ways. Hopefully enough of those would consider going to the Green Party, for example, for the first time. More than Rupert Lowe's Restore. Let's cross our fingers. I think the Greens are going to have to get a lot of people out who haven't voted in a long time as well, or for the first time. We know that they do well in the younger age demographics, of course. But they're not going to get every single Reform vote, of course, just by sheer politics. You've got to be realistic. Probably less than 3 years until the next general election. But let's move on. More to discuss. It will still be UK politics, but this time protests and protest rights, of course. We'll see what the latest is from PAL Action and Defend Our Juries, as there was a significant ruling in Preston.
On with it. Yes, get on with it.
Get on with it.
Yes, the Preston 5, as they're actually known, were on trial for a spraying action at a branch of Barclays. I was speaking to someone who's done a bank spraying themselves in the past and being arrested on trial and convicted. I will, of course, add, just in case. But it was good to see the show of support for the Preston 5. Barclays, of course, in this particular case, involved in the funding of Israel. That's why they were targeted by PAL Action. But the question was whether this counted as an act of terrorism. Of course, PAL Action themselves have been prescribed as a terrorist group. That is what Defend Our Juries and others protest against, and they were outside the courts this week. We're going to see what happened and then talk about the verdict. Because where the executive and the judiciary are concerned as well, it's more or less a case of once a group are found not guilty of a certain accusation, the government think that they can get a second go. It's more or less double jeopardy in a way. Now, what is supposed to normally happen legally is someone will be arrested, the Department of Prosecutions decides what the charges can and cannot be, what they're going to attempt to prosecute the defendants with, based on the likelihood of success, and then they go on with the trial, as it was in this case, with a list of charges, and you don't really get to go through the trial, and then whatever the verdict, turn around and say, oh, we actually wanted to charge them with this as well. But that's what's happening. Or at least that is what the executive are trying to do in this case, and that alone, aside from the original illegal prescription, of course, is just abhorrent. It's dystopian. It's certainly unjust. So whilst they were originally convicted for criminal damage, as I was actually, when I took part in a bank spraying action, but following that, of course, they were then back in court on terrorism charges. So let's see this from Defend Our Juries.
Hi, my name is Zoe.
My name's Gail Bradbrook.
I'm David McKelvey, I'm a retired GP.
My name is Patrick Hart, and I was an NHS GP.
I'm Alice. In 2022, along with 5 other health workers, I broke the bank JP Morgan Chase's windows.
In 2023, I was found guilty of criminal damage. I had a hammer and a bradawl to a window at the Department for Transport.